Hello, you beautiful Algebra 2 creatures. I picked up the quizzes tonight, and I've gotten many an email from you all. I know that you all had a lot of anxiety about this content, and rightly so. It's difficult. I also understand that you've gotten some different instruction on how to do this, and there are many different ways to factor. But the way that your notes instruct you to factor is actually pretty clever. And the factoring problems that you are doing here are difficult, but I wanted to dive in and explain some of this, and then before I get into it, I wanted to probably ease your nerves a little bit. You're going to get another shot at that, about that quiz 4-1. I'm thinking about what that's going to look like, but what I'm leaning towards is letting you take it home over break instead of the 4-2 quiz. But we'll get there. I'll be posting something on Google Classroom. But I'm looking at this is in your homework, and I'm looking at some problems from your homework. I wanted to start out with this problem number 9 to dive into first. So the way that your notes advise you to go after something like this is we're going to take this coefficient that's in front and we're going to multiply it by this 24 at the end. So we can rewrite this as something like p squared minus 24p, and then I need to do 6 times 24, and 6 times 24 is going to go to 120 plus 24, so 144. And then we can factor this from here. It's a little bit easier without that 6 there. And what we are looking for is two things that multiply to 144 that when they add together will add together to negative 24. So this may be obvious to some of y'all, but if I do negative 12 squared, that'd be 144, and if I add negative 12 plus a negative 12, I would get negative 24. So that's what I'm going to toss in here. I'm going to have minus 12 minus 12. Now, that's not the end of the pudding. What we need to do is now we need to divide each of these terms by 6. And we will get something like p minus 2 squared. That's going to be multiplied times 6. Now, what may be more of a typical way of looking at this problem, which would be fine, right? Many ways to skin a cat, is just from the get-go to undistribute. And then from this point right here, we might be able to spot out that this is going to go to p minus 2 squared. Okay, let's look at something a little bit weirder next. Let's go down to something like problem number 13. So for problem number 13, we've got 16w squared plus 8w plus 1. So what your notes would advise you to do is rewrite this as w squared plus 8w plus 16. And we're looking for two things that multiply to 16 that add to 8. So two things that multiply to 16 that add to 8. Well, 4 times 4 is equal to 16, and 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. So this would go to w plus 4 times w plus 4. And I am going to have a 16 out front, and I'm going to divide both of these by 16, and I would get 16 times w plus 1/4 squared. And if I were to solve this, right, my w would be negative 1/4. So this is like a really handy way of doing it. It kind of works nicely. But let's look at something maybe that's a little less obvious. So we're going to look at 16, 17, and 18 as well. So let's start with 16. 16, same deal. Let's rewrite this, m squared. Now I've got to do 49 times 9. Might be kind of hard to think of. The way I think of this is that I'm going to do 450 minus 9, so that's going to go to 441. So I've got m squared minus 441 is equal to 0. And maybe you don't know what the square root of 441 is. I suspect that it's 21, but I am checking. It is indeed 21. So this is going to be the difference of two squares. And this is a really key idea, this difference of two squares thing. And so this difference of two squares is going to go to m minus 21 times m plus 21. We did take out a 9 at the beginning, and we'll need to divide these by 9 as well. And that would leave me with 9 times m. These have 3's in them, so this can reduce to 7/3, and m plus 7/3. All right, let's look at 17 next. So 17's got a wacky thing going on here with this y term. And if we wanted to get rid of that, well, why don't we try doing the method that we have, and let's see how this works out. Okay, so what we've been told is pretty much anything that's on the x, we're going to multiply. So I'm going to do x squared minus, and then over here this would be 64y squared. Again, I see a diff of two squares. And so this would go to x minus 8y and x plus 8y. And then I do need to realize that I did multiply by a 64y. And I will have to divide by a 64y on the outside as well. And so what I end up getting here is 64y times x, 8 over 64, that's going to be minus 1/8. And this is going to be x plus 1/8. Now I'm going to show you another way to approach this. The really confusing thing here is this y term that can really throw us for a loop. Typically, the way you might see this approach to is as soon as we see those y terms there, we just immediately undistribute it. Right, and then from here I could see again a difference of two squares, and I could write this as y 8x minus 1 and 8x plus 1. And then if I wanted to undistribute an 8 from both of these terms, I could, right? And I could have 8 times 8 times y times x minus 1/8 times x plus 1/8. And I'd get to the same sort of thing. But this method that is outlined in your notes, once you get the hang of it, it's actually really effective. Okay, so again, here we've got this 20c squared minus 45d squared. So the thing we're going to do here, right, is we're going to get rid of this 20. We're going to rewrite this as c squared minus, now I need to do 20 times 45. I'm going to do that in my calculator. You know what? I'll do that in my head. That's going to be 2 times 450, which is 900. So I'm going to have 900d squared. And so again, what we have going on here is a difference of 2 squares. And so how I can write this is I can say, all right, let me go back to the blue. I like that blue. I'm going to have C minus 30d and C plus 30d. Now I did multiply this by a 20, right? So I need to bring my 20 on the outside, and then I need to divide by 20. So my answer would look something like 20 times C minus 3 halves d, and C plus 3 halves d. Pretty cool. Okay. What I would recommend that you all do is keep cranking away with the notes. I will get fresh quizzes to you by Friday. So you will have fresh, let's get a better color than that. You will have fresh quiz 4-1 for Friday to complete over break.